Our inspection team visited the area, and the Hoima Sugar staff were on the ground. They were interacted with. We have footage, including aerial drone footage, to confirm what we are saying. So there is all the evidence that Hoima Sugar Limited cannot refute the fact that there is degradation of the areas which were supposed to remain naturally forested areas, and so they are fully aware. So the inspection involved visiting to the site where Hoima Sugar Limited staff were. So they are aware, and they have we have issued this order to them. So they have already received it. So they have it. They have the order. To be reserved for forests and nature walkways is 1,598 hectares. 1,598 hectares. That's the land which was supposed to be reserved as forested, and this is what is degraded. The degradation has been mainly through lumbering, cutting down trees for timber, and also burning charcoal. Those are the two main actually degradation activities that we found on the ground. Those are the two main activities. We have not quantified in terms of economic terms the loss occasioned, but certainly we have lost natural standing trees which have been there for quite a long time, very many years, and so to return these trees standing is going to take us some good time. It is going to take us some good time, but nevertheless it is our desire that we must restore the forest back to its natural state. Now, you raised the question of which third parties are going to come in play. The reason we have brought on board third parties is to ensure transparency. But also to allow people who have capacity and expertise to contribute to fast restoration of this land. But with or without third parties, the company has the duty at its own cost to restore the area, and technical support of National Forestry Authority, Forestry Sector Support Department, Uganda Wildlife Authority, and of course with overall supervision of ourselves as the coordinating institution. Now, you raised the second question of why did we do it alone and not with the media. I would like to answer that we don't do our work with the media. We involve media to give you information, but we cannot have media everywhere we go to work. This is routine work of environmental auditing, environmental inspection, and environmental monitoring. As you know, we do this every day. So taking the media and other people could be misconstrued as bias, or could be misconstrued as an undue influence on the authority. The authority by law is supposed to do its work independently. We base our decisions on sound science and not any influence. So we wanted to remain an independent authority, and that's why we did our work the way we are supposed to do it, and in consultation with the lead agencies, Uganda Wildlife Authority, National Forestry Authority, and the Ministry of Water and Environment. And we have copied our orders to all of these agencies. We've copied our orders to Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water and Environment, Executive Director, National Forestry Authority, Executive Director, Uganda Wildlife Authority, Chief Administrative Officer, Chikube District Local Government, the Resident District Commissioner, Chikube District Local Government, the Prime Minister of Bunyoro Kingdom, and the directors of support tree planting and environmental conservation. So these will help in the enforcement of the order, and we shall monitor closely. We require the company to report on a monthly basis. This is a condition. They will report to this authority on a monthly basis on actions taken to implement the order. And if we realize that the orders are not being implemented, we shall take further legal action as provided for in our law. We are targeting 45 million trees every year. The campaign was launched this year, and it is ongoing with the support of so many private players, actually, who I will not mention for purposes of being fair to the rest. So the campaign is ongoing, and the trees are being planted, and we are not doing tree planting this time. We are doing tree growing. You plant a tree, take its GPS coordinate, and then monitor it until it grows. So that we use it to do tree planting every day. But after planting the tree, what happens to the tree was not anybody's business. So many trees would be planted and they wouldn't make it. So we've shifted to growing trees. This program is spearheaded by the Forestry Sector Support Department, the National Forestry Authority, and ourselves, and the Ministry of Water and Environment, plus private sector. Many private sector players are on board, and the program is going on very well. The program was launched by the Vice President in Entebbe, and it is going on very well. Nema Sugar Limited is a big company. It has a sugar factory in Hoima, so it's not new in the sugar industry. So it is a big company which has the muscle to execute the activity. What we are concerned about is the way they have executed this very one by going beyond what we approved as Nema for the project development. So they have definitely the muscle. It's a big conglomerate. Where in law a company is independent of the owner, so you wouldn't want to know who owns a company. You can only know who owns a company if you search their directors in the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, or if you apply to court to do what we call lifting the veil. Otherwise, for us, we treat the company limited as an entity in itself. It's an entity. So you don't need to know who owns an entity. It's an entity. It's like somebody asking who owns you. You are an independent legal entity, and so is the company. The Global Climate Summit of last year, what we call COP26, which took place in Scotland, agreed on mechanisms for carbon trading, and Uganda is now in the process of developing carbon trading guidelines. So we already have carbon credits, of course, including our hydropower dams. They already have carbon credits calculated. We already have carbon credits in Chibale Forest National Park under Uganda Wildlife Authority, and several other isolated voluntary carbon credit trading schemes. But we do not have yet national carbon trading engaged in by government. The schemes we have globally now, it's not only Uganda. The schemes we have for carbon trading globally now are called voluntary trading schemes, not at government to government level. And so we are in the process of having national guidelines for carbon trading. In terms of no net loss, it's a tricky question, this being private land. In our view, if the landowner is forced or convinced, whichever word you want to use, to keep 1,500 hectares as natural forest, and then the other hectares as ecotourism sites, that's already, in my view, nature gain. Because the default could have been destruction. Very many people have destroyed biodiversity on their land. And so it is very difficult, actually, to conserve biodiversity on private land. It's one of the biggest challenges we have. Land conversion. Land conversion into alternative sources of livelihoods. And so that's why we need to come up with payment for ecosystem services schemes like the carbon trading you are talking about. We want to reach a point where a factory that is emitting fumes should be able to pay somebody who has kept forest on his private land so that he benefits. So, in our view overall, if the private landowner adheres to our orders, there will be net gain for biodiversity, because the default would have been conversion of the private land into alternative uses. Of course, it would have been ideal if we maintained the entire place perhaps in a protected status. The best would have been for government to acquire the land and conserve it as a natural forest, maybe as a protected area. That would guarantee more biodiversity benefits. But looking at it from the dimension of being private land, we have everything to benefit if we protect those hectares as natural forest, and we restrict the landowner on how much he or she can develop. Now, coming back to what was the other question? Why has it taken us too long? That's a question that has been asked by so many people. One, it is not true that it has taken us too long. It is not true. The certificate was issued in 2020. Yeah? And our laws provide that you conduct audit after 1 year. You conduct audit after 1 year. And so, in the first year of audit, we have been able to identify non-compliance, and we have acted. We have acted. Of course, it would have been nice for the company to behave and self-regulate so that there is no non-compliance. And that's what we expect the developers to be, because Nema cannot have capacity to police on a daily basis, because that would be at whose cost? The taxpayer cannot afford to spend money on a daily basis to police operations of private companies. That's why there are breaches and consequences for breaches. It's like saying police will supervise every citizen to ensure that the citizen does not commit any offense. It's not practical, it's not possible. But they give you guidelines. If you breach, there are consequences. So Nema cannot have capacity to supervise on a daily basis all developers in this country called Uganda. We have over 16,000 and more licensed companies that we do monitor. So, but the law also requires that audits are done annually. Because if you were doing an audit every month, the developers wouldn't have time to implement. The developers wouldn't have time to implement.